life, but the phrase literally translated from Hebrew is life unto the age.
Life unto the age. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's a dense phrase, and to understand it, we need to first talk about what an age
영원한
is in the Bible.
생명.
Let's do it.
So the Hebrew word for age is olam, and it refers to a period of time.
What length of time?
Well, any length of time, actually, and it can be in the past or in the future. What matters is that it's a period of time with some common attribute that remains constant.
So, for example,
So, like the time of Abraham and his descendants all the way up to Moses. The common attribute is it's the time of Moses' ancestors. And so Moses can say, remember the days of the age, the years of past generations and elders.
okay.
Or an age can be shorter and in the future. Like Samuel, who's going to spend his whole life serving in the temple. During his dedication, his mother Hannah calls this an age.
So, an age is a period of time that has a unique and constant characteristic.
Exactly.
And there can be all sorts of different ages, depending on what you want to focus on.
You got it. And so someone could live in two ages at the same time if those ages happen to overlap.
All right, so back to the phrase, life unto the age. What age is this talking about?
Okay, so in the beginning of the biblical story, humans are made from the dust of the ground. This is a common biblical image for creatures that are mortal. That is, they live in an age where they could die.
인간은
But
흙에서
God takes humanity and
만들어졌습니다.
places them in a sacred garden where they're invited to experience a new and deeper kind of life.
에덴
By
동산에
eating from the tree of
두었습니다.
life.
Yeah, we're told it offers them life unto the age, a life of infinite potential because it connects them to God's own divine life.
But the story takes a turn. And instead of accepting life unto the age, they eat of the tree of knowing good and bad.
Right, taking from this tree means seizing life for themselves on their own terms, apart from God's wisdom.
선악지식
And so
나무
they're
동물을
exiled from life
먹지
into the
말라고
age,
했습니다.
and they go into the age of death. They mistreat each other, they do what's right in their own eyes. Things get really violent.
Exactly. And so the whole rest of the story of the Bible can be thought of as a choice between two different ages. The age of life on our own terms that leads to death, or the age of God's own life.
And while humanity has
생명
rejected God's life,
또는 죽음.
God promises he'll open the way back.
Exactly. And it's that promise that ultimately leads the story to Jesus. He's presented as God's own life become human, so that both ages overlap in him. He lives in the age of mortality and death and in the age of eternal life at the same time.
And so he can offer people access to life unto the age.
Right. It's like what Jesus says in the Gospel of John. This is eternal life, that they may know you, the one true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent.
Yet, just like humanity rejected God's life in the garden, Jesus was rejected and put to death.
But God's life is more powerful than death. And so Jesus rises from the dead, and he can offer God's life to others. Like the Gospel of John also says,
십자가에
Whoever
달리신
trusts
예수님은
in him will not
부활
perish, but has eternal life.
that is, life
십자가에
unto
달려
the age.
장사된 예수님을 부활시키겠습니다.
Now, most people think of eternal life as something that happens after you die. But in the Bible, access to this age is something I can have right now.
Yeah, remember, Jesus was the place where the age of God's life meets the age of death. And that means that when people trust him, they can experience eternal life here and now.
But we also still live in the age of death. So, what happens when I die?
Well, just like death couldn't overpower God's eternal life in Jesus, similarly, we can remain alive to God even if we're physically dead. In the Bible, this is called being with Christ. And it's not talked about very much because it's not how the overall
그리스도와
biblical story ends.
그리스도와
The
함께
focus of the Bible is about when the age of
영원한
life
생명을
completely overcomes the age of death.
그리스도와
And those who are with Christ are
영원한
recreated
생명을
to share in God's eternal life.
A world where the age of death no longer has any power.
Exactly. Because life that is fully connected to God's own eternal life
그리스도와
and
함께
love is a
죽음에서
life that will
생명으로
never end.
옮겨집니다.